Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my top 10 eyeshadow palettes that I think are perfect for the spring, and I've actually been keeping these in this basket right here. I wanted to have them all in one place so that I could actually reach for these all throughout the spring. So these are the palettes that I'm going to be focusing on for the next couple of months. And some of these have been around for quite a few years. Not all of them are super new, so you might already have some of these in your collection. And I do have a bunch of different price points here. So some of these are luxury and high end, and then I do have a couple of more affordable ones. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so in no particular order, I'm just going to start pulling out palettes from the basket. So starting off with this one, this is the Alter Ego Dreamgaze palette. And this one is definitely the most colorful palette out of all the ones that I'm going to be talking about today. But this is a really nice color story because you do get a lot of pops of color in here. You get some brighter shades, but you also get some pastels. So whenever I want to do a brighter or pastel eyeshadow look, I like to reach for this one because the formula is very easy to work with. It's not super pigmented, so you do have to work with some of these shades a little bit, but everything can be built up really easily, and the shimmers are more so just like straight up shimmers. Nothing in here is super metallic or intense, so I just really like this palette. I like the color story. It's just a very bright and happy color story, which I think is perfect for spring. And Alter Ego is a more affordable brand, not technically drugstore, but it is a more affordable price point, I would say. Next up, I have the Oden by Morgan Turner Love Language palette. And I think Morgan Turner did such an amazing job with this palette. The packaging is super pretty, and this color story is mostly pink and purple, but you also get a more neutral section over here. So you can do a neutral look with this, but then you also get a bunch of pinks and purples, which I have been loving wearing pink and purple eyeshadow lately. I don't know what it is, but this year I've been wearing a ton of eyeshadow looks like that. I've just really been in the mood for that. So I think this palette is perfect for pink and purple eyeshadow looks, but I do like that you get a neutral section as well. I have been a fan of Oden's Eyes formula for a long time, but I feel like some of the shadows in here blend even better than some of the shadows in their other palettes. And honestly, I think that's because of Morgan Turner. She really wanted to perfect the shadows in here, and I think she did achieve that. This is a beautiful palette, and it is one of my go-tos now whenever I want to do a pink or purple eyeshadow look. I do have 3 eyeshadow palettes from Natasha Denona. Are we surprised? I do love Natasha Denona palettes, and I just couldn't help but to pick 3 different palettes from the brand. So starting off with the My Dream palette, which is one of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes. I've loved this one for years, and I really like that you get some variety in here. So you do get some warmer shades, but you also get some purples. You get a little bit of mauve with the shimmer over here. This one is super pretty, and I love that you also get a taupey shimmer as well. This one is one of my favorite ones in the entire palette, but I also love that you get a multi-chrome in here. This one is called Vision, and this one applies so nicely to the lids. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick up the multi-chrome effect. It does have a greenish gold and purpley shift to it, so I do think it complements the palette really nicely. And I just love the variety that you get in here. It's definitely one of my most used Natasha Denona palettes. The Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. This one I thought was going to be a little bit too cool toned for my skin tone, but I actually think it's one of the most perfect neutral leaning cool eyeshadow palettes. It's a really nice everyday palette, but you can also do some more glam looks. So you do get a lot of taupey shimmers in here. You also get some bronzy ones. You get a little bit of pink as well. And actually a few of these are more so toppers. So this one in the shade Mia, this is a pink topper shade. This one in the shade Sheen is also a topper, but this one is a warmer, almost champagne shade. And then this one in the shade Delilah is one of the prettiest shadows in this entire palette. This is a taupey topper shade. So I use this one a ton. I feel like I reach for that one the most out of all the shimmers in here, but this is a really pretty everyday neutral slash cool eyeshadow palette that actually works against my warmer complexion. And then the last Natasha Denona palette that I have to talk about is the Bloom palette, which I did purchase during the Sephora Spring Savings event. I wasn't sure if I was going to purchase it or not, but I ended up going in store on the first day of the sale and it looked super pretty. It looked even prettier in person than the pictures online. This color story is pretty warm, but I just love how all these shadows work together. And this is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. I've been loving this one and I have worn every single shade at this point. I did demo this in the video before this, which is the Sephora spring haul that I did. So I am wearing this palette in that video, but I did use some other shades for today's look. Like I said, this palette is pretty warm toned, but a couple of the shades in here do lean more purple, or I guess more so plummy. So this shade over here, which is called Equinox, this is a really pretty purpley topper shade. So it is purple, but it does have a little bit of pink as well. And this one I have applied over top of this one. This one is called Rue. So I have this one all over my lids and I topped it with Equinox. And I thought it made such a pretty combo. I love how these two shades look layered over top of each other. And then this one called Clover is a really deep plummy shade. And I love this one for deepening up the outer corners. That's actually what I did today as well. You even get a pop of matte orange in the middle and then a red metallic. So overall, I think this palette is very cohesive. I love the looks that I've done with this palette so far. And of course, the front of the palette is very much spring appropriate and I think it's super pretty. The Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette, this one has been a longtime favorite and I feel like a lot of people love this one as well. But this packaging is absolutely stunning. This to me is one of the prettiest ones that Huda Beauty has ever come out with. You get a ton of intense metallics in here and some of them are a little bit flaky, but not difficult to work with in my opinion, especially if you do your eyes first. But they look super intense and foiled on the lids, which I really like. But I like to layer at least a couple of the metallics whenever I use this palette. It's actually rare that I only use one of the shimmers or metallics in this palette. I usually layer at least a couple of them. But this is a very purple and pink color story. And I also really like the mauvey, almost gray matte shades in here. They do complement the purple shimmers really nicely. So I think this is a stunning palette. Of course, the shade in the middle, which I don't like at all, is this one called Love Stone. And honestly, I don't think anyone really likes that shade. So that is the only shade in the palette that I really don't like, but everything else I think applies perfectly. Next up, I have the McGrath Mothership 9 Huetopian Dream Palette. Now, honestly, I haven't used this one quite as much as I've used the Bronze Seduction palette, which is the only other larger McGrath palette that I have. And this one I feel like I just haven't used as much. I don't know why that is because I really love the shadows in here, but I'm gonna focus on using this one during the spring. I wanna get some more use out of it because it is a pricier palette and you do get some of those special shades. So these two right here, this one is a really pretty purple and then this one leans purple, but it is a lighter pinky gold, or at least it has a shift to it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe this shade, but this one is stunning. And then this bronzy gold over here, and these are super reflective and glittery. Some of them do have a bit of a shift to them, but I do recommend using some sort of glitter glue with these, or even just wetting your brush so that they do adhere a little bit better to the lids, because they do give a lot of fallout because these are so glittery and intense, but the effect I think is worth it. But I think this color story is very pretty for spring. You do get a pop of coral and that one is matte, and you also get a multi-chrome as well. This one actually looks very similar to the one in the My Dream palette. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and compare those. Okay, so here is the multi-chrome from the Huetopian Dream palette. It swatches really easily and it is very pigmented. And actually, now that I'm swatching the one from the My Dream palette, they do not look as similar as I thought they did. The one from the Natasha Denona palette does look more green and it doesn't seem to shift quite as much. They did look similar in the pan, but they are very different. I would say the one from the Pat McGrath palette looks more bronzy, even though they both do have that greenish shift to them. But yeah, very different actually. This one is the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2 palette. I love Patrick Ta's matte eyeshadow formula, and the mattes in here are no exception. They blend beautifully. They're very, very pigmented. They're just super buttery and blendable. So it's one of my favorite matte eyeshadow formulas that I've ever tried. And I love that the metallics in here do have a shift to them, or at least most of them do. So all of them have a little bit of a shift except for the lightest metallic and the deepest one, which is this deeper red shade. But these look stunning on the lids. I love how impactful they are. You even get a couple of cream shadows in here, which do crease up a little bit. Nothing terrible, but I don't love using them because of that. I'd rather just use some sort of eyeshadow primer, but these shades are very pretty. I have used them a handful of times, but honestly, I don't reach for them very often. I really just stick to the powder shadows in here. And I would say even though some of the shades in here do lean a little bit more warm toned, you do get some neutral shades as well. So not a super warm tone palette. I guess it is overall a more neutral color story, but this has been a longtime favorite of mine, and I really love this one and the Major Dimension 3 palette. I would say those are my top two favorites from the brand. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette. First of all, I love that this palette is sage green and it also has gold around the edges. I love that this one has a variety of greens in it, but you also get this really pretty pop of purple. This is a matte shade and I love this one as a one and done shadow. So I like using this one all over the lids, and I would say the shade Peacock is my most used shimmer in the palette. I love that it has a deeper base to it, but it does have that deeper teal and brown shift to it. So it just looks like it has a lot of dimension to it. So that one I love using for a smokier eyeshadow look. But yeah, this palette I think is super pretty. I love that you get a lot of greens in here and you also get those pops of color. Okay, I almost forgot to talk about this palette. I think it's just because it's so tiny and I almost missed it, but this is the Essence Coral Me Maybe eyeshadow palette. This one is the most affordable palette, and you do get 6 eyeshadows in here, which makes it really easy to come up with a look because you don't get a ton of shades in here. So I can just come up with a look really quickly, very easily, and I really like the quality of these eyeshadows. Yes, they are very, very affordable compared to other palettes, but the quality is there in my opinion. It is an overall coral palette, but I love that you get this deeper plummy brown shade, and I love this mauvey shimmer over here. The shimmers are not intense, but I do think they look pretty on the lids, and especially if you build them up, they do show up really nicely. The mattes blend very easily. I don't have any issues with this formula, so overall it's a really nice affordable palette. I'm pretty sure this one is under $6. It might even be $4. I'm gonna have to check. All right, so those are my top 10 palettes that I think are perfect for spring. Let me know what you guys are gonna be reaching for over the next few months. And do you have any of these palettes? Let me know any of your recommendations as well. But I will see you in my next one. Bye.